What's up guys, it's Project, and I figured I'd make a quick video regarding the new Abyss mode from patch 1.18. You do not need the DLC to play it, but you do need to beat Way of the Nioh from the new DLC to pass floor 30 in the Abyss. By beat they mean simply defeating the Queen's Eye mission on Way of the Nioh, which is pretty easy if you've gotten this far with an actual build, since the reduced requirements for getting to Omi region in Nioh is much easier and faster to do than the past DLCs when they added their new difficulties. And it really should have been the standard from the start. You may ask,
what's the point of Abyss mode? Why should I bother?
Well, you should bother because it's the endgame grind, as suspected, but it's also the method for getting Ethereals the easiest. Way of the Nioh is pretty pointless outside of needing to beat it to unlock Abyss floors above 30, and for farming stages like Marabashi for loads of Amrita, or Restless Spirits for gold, which gold, by the way, is super hard to find. If anyone knows how to get a lot of gold fast, let me know in the comments. Seriously, everything is so expensive. But anyways, Way of the Nioh Divine plus level caps at plus 40, I think. And by that I mean you won't get anything higher than plus 40. Meanwhile, getting to floor 300 or higher, I believe, in the Abyss gets you like plus 60 or something. And I heard as high as plus 80ish above floors 400 to 500. So yes, it's the ultimate endgame grind for the last DLC, providing new and unexpected boss encounters at least your first time through the first couple of dozen floors, which keeps it fresh for that first run, but I imagine by floor 100 you're gonna get tired of it. The Abyss is not tied to difficulty you play it on, it's its own thing, with the only thing relating to the campaign is needing to beat certain difficulties to unlock the first few dozen floors. In order to access the Abyss, you need cracked Ochokos. You can get 2 per day by beating the Twilight missions. The difficulty you beat the Twilight missions on does not matter, but you are limited to only 2 cracked Ochokos a day, or however many hours it takes for Twilights to reset. That's pretty limited, right? But it seems in Way of the Nioh, boss rush missions like Hyakyagyo, Marabashi, or Restless Spirits can also drop cracked Ochoko cups rarely. And it might just be bosses in general. I recommend farming Marabashi since it's the easiest and can also skyrocket in levels due to the amount of Amrita you earn with his sake in there. But aside climbing floors with an absurd build to reach the hundreds and hundreds to get stronger plus levels, the real juice of the Abyss is Nanachi.
Nah.
No, I'm joking. It's defiled items. No, exclude that. Defiling your items should be everyone's objective right now, and you don't need floor 800 or whatever to do so.
So what does defiling your items do? How can I defile my gear?
Defiling your gear can turn divines into Ethereals, all without affecting the original stats on the gear piece. That's right. To start the process, you need droplets of decay. These are dropped from bosses in the Abyss, usually 1 or 2 per boss, and since they're items, not equipment, item drop rate might help you secure more, so Itakuri as a main spirit or using fan accessories with item drop rate should guarantee you some. But you need these to apply the defiled effect on your gear. You can defile items at the shrine. You might need to reach floor 10 to do so, but when you do, you're given the option to defile an item using a droplet. It'll cost Amrita to do so, and can get rather costly depending on how high you're up, but it's worth it in most cases. So you've now made your gear piece defiled. What now? Well, when you get to the defiled item itself, it'll turn everything into question marks. You cannot see what the stats or rarity is until you leave the Abyss. But hold your horses, this is the crucial part on getting your stuff to turn into Ethereals. On a defiled item, it'll say a number next to the only stat on the weapon or armor, next to the words defiled items. It starts at 0 but can go to a maximum of 3. What this affects is how likely you are to get an ethereal out of the weapon or armor, and in order to increase the number, you have to beat bosses, or floors in other words, in the Abyss. After beating a boss and going to the next floor, the number will increase by 1. And also, simply beating the boss will not increase it. You have to talk to the white Kodama to enter the next floor, and then it'll increase once you get to the next floor. Once you come out of the Abyss, the gear you defiled or defiled items you obtained will show up in the rewards and either stay the same but increase in level and divine level depending on the floors you climbed. The higher the floor number, the more these increase, or their rarity will be changed. If the weapon or armor you defiled doesn't turn into ethereal, simply try all over again. In fact, if you're not caring for star effects, I recommend just foraging or farming a bunch of the gear you want ethereal, then defile them all at once and follow the steps I mentioned for increased chances. And as far as I'm aware, higher floors doesn't increase the chance, so whenever ethereals start dropping, just go back and do those floors instead. I recommend floors 33 to 37, starting at 33 and ending on 37, since all those 4 bosses are yokai, 2 Hino Enema, 1 Ogress, and 1 Thousand Eyes Restrict. after you've beat floor 37 and the mission for your maxed out Defiles. And that's pretty much the only thing worth doing in the Abyss, unless you want to climb to some crazy floor numbers for more power. I suppose with that extra power you could make and enjoy weaker builds on Way of the Nioh, using like plus 80 tonfas or something. Unfortunately, you can't change graces by defiling items, so the only way to do that is to get a super rare stat that can inherit a grace onto another. I never found one myself, so unsure if it can be reforged. It's probably a star effect found only on Ethereals though. And regarding the boats when you enter the Abyss and the White Kodama, generally you should just rush the bosses down. Those levels don't seem to be worth doing unless you need to remove a status effect, which speaking of, there's quite a few you want to get rid of, at least when you're having some trouble killing them. Confusion, Paralysis, Tarper, and Sludge are probably the worst offenders for all builds. Even live weapon builds will have some trouble if hit. The Elemental Spikes and Enemy Reinforcements mod can be annoying too for non-living weapon or one-shot builds. For an easier and faster way to complete the planes, you should use Catwalking and Super Scrolls from the Ninjutsu tree. Those allow you to bypass most enemies for speedier times. And as far as bosses go, generally humans are the most annoying. Sonata's by far the biggest dick in this game, and in Abyss, he's probably the worst version of him. Date can be pretty scary too, and Sarutobi has too much health. I recommend Pierce Guard on every weapon you make to do slightly better against blockers. Travel amulets and earth folding talismans can take you back to the shrine instantly in case you need to pick up your spirit for the weapon builds or to do planes safely. If you die without having your spirit, you lose all your Amrita and your defiled items, so be super careful about that. From just general observation from forums and comments, it seems living weapons Susanoo, Kusa, or Dachi are what everyone is using as a crutch through Abyss or Way of the Nioh. So if you need a build right now that will slay the beasts of these higher difficulties, look no further than my perfect Susanoo build that I'll leave a link to in the end screen annotation thing, since it's the ultimate form of living weapon Kusa. And someone told me they used my build to reach past floor 500, so it's certainly viable still. Attack times 2 and Nullify were nerfed, but there's also new stuff that should help damage, like Star Effect increased attack critical on boots, which can be forged then defiled into Ethereal. There's also close combat damage increase on gloves that can be reforged. With the method of defiling I mentioned above, you can also defile a bunch of Kamewari helms to get a Susanoo one and use full Kagetsu instead of One Piece Fanatic for the best possible damage setup for perfect Susanoo, at least with those older sets. So it's still probably the best build to use right now for Abyss climbing to floors above 100 onwards, provided no new sets are better, which I haven't really looked into the new graces yet. But yeah, I hope this video helped you guys understand the new mode and what best way to go about it for making Ethereals for your builds you plan to make. It's a slow process early on, but it should pick up after a while. I made a poll on my community feed on this channel asking what you'd like to see next, and all you guys said, the new Dragon Ninja set. I can't promise OPness and brokenness, but it should be a decent all-rounder to use from what I've gotten it to so far, so expect that build video to be next. Traditionally, my first build of a new DLC was always the weakest of the builds I made afterwards, so just keep that in mind. But remember, to give this video a thumbs up, comment your progress in the Abyss, what floor are you guys on, and what build are you guys using. Help each other out in the comments, I always like to see that. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe for more Nioh epicness.